All right, we're moving on to the second part of 1A. Now remember, if you struggled with parts of an expression and you had a little tough time with that practice, you absolutely should go back and watch at least part of that Khan Academy video, okay? So make sure you really do know all the parts of an expression. You can label them, you can pick them out, you can explain it, all the ins and outs moving forward, okay? But anyways, we're going to move on to math operation words, and this is going to help build our knowledge moving forward when we start writing expressions. So what I want you to do first is pause this video and see how many words you can come up with that represent the operations you see. So you've got plus, minus, multiply, divide, and then parentheses. So if you're not 100% sure, then don't put the word on there. But take a moment to either brainstorm or even write a few words down there in each of these sections that could represent that operation. So just pause the video and do that for a sec. All right, I hope you came up with some, but I'm going to show you the words that we want. Now, these, of course, are not all the words, but these are as many as I want you to find. So make sure you really save space. There's several words, especially in the subtraction one. So go ahead and start writing these down in your boxes on your packet, and I'm going to explain some of these. So add and plus are obviously words that we use to talk about addition. Add, that'd be the same as saying adding, addition. Those are all the same version of the word. So those are what we typically use when we're talking about this. But if you think of like real world problems or other phrases we could use to talk about addition, some of the other words we use are more or more than, depending on how we're talking. And then all together, even though that might sound like an equals, it's an equaling what we're talking about for an addition problem. So if I do something all together, I'm going to be adding it up. And then we've also talked about this before too, way back when, but if we talk about finding the sum, this word represents addition. So make sure you get all of these. And of course, if you need to pause or rewind the video to get everything written down, please do that because you do need all these words. All right, so subtraction has a lot. I'm going to explain through all of them, but there are tons of words that represent subtraction. These aren't even all of them. So we obviously have subtract on there, but we also have things like take away or decrease, remain. That would be like if I asked the question, you know, if I had like 4 apples and I ate one, how many remain? That would be for a subtraction problem. Lost, right? Like if I lost money or lost weight or something like that, that'd be a subtraction. Same with fell and gave. And gave, some people are like, oh, I gave, so I got something. Well, but you have to think of the person giving it away is not having it anymore, so that would be subtraction. Difference is kind of like what we use with sum here. So sum is the answer to an addition problem. Difference is the answer to a subtraction problem, which actually ties into this whole idea of how many more. So I know the word more is in here, but with subtraction, you would usually talk about like how many more, like maybe if I said, how many more siblings do I have compared to my cousin Lauren or something like that. And so that's making a comparison and finding what's different between them. So that's really with subtraction, even though the word more is there. And then dropped, so that'd be kind of like fell, right? So you got drop in temperature. I already talked about subtract. Then you also have fewer than, less than. Those are pretty much the same, just like how more than, it's the opposite, so that's subtraction. Okay? Moving on to multiplication. Not quite as many, but still plenty. And I know you see the word of twice. That of is individual. So obviously you have times and multiply. But then you also have the word product. That's just like difference and sum. So product is the answer to a multiplication problem. The word of could be used if I say like I have, kind of like when we were doing percentages, sort of. But if I said like I have 4 of this versus that, just usually that's in place of a multiplication. You won't see that one all the time, but that one, I wanted to make sure you included it. So every is here because if I said I have, 4 students at every desk, and I have 8 desks, how many students do I have, right? So I would, or tables, I mean, that would work. So if I said I have 4 students at every table, I have 8 tables, how many students do I have? That would be a multiplication problem. Same with groups of. Every and groups of are basically the same idea. I have 4 groups of 8. Twice and doubled, that means you're multiplying by 2, so those are basically the same idea as well. So they're multiplication. All right, division, you will see a word duplicate here. Every could work the opposite way. And oh, I'm sorry, I need to also include per. Give me 1 second. I'm going to also add that to our multiplication one. My thing's going a little slow. Because per is kind of like the word every. It can be included in multiply or divide. Because if I was saying like, I have 4 students per table, and I have 8 tables, how many students I have, that's using a multiplication. But if I say I have 4 students per table, and here's how many students I have, how many tables do I need? That would be worked backwards and dividing. So like if I said, I've got 32 students and I need 4 per table, how many tables do I need? That's how you could figure it out. Okay, so that'd be dividing though. And then obviously the word divide and split, but then quotient, that's again kind of like product, difference, and sum, answer to a division problem in this case. Right? All right, the parentheses are real tricky, and we're going to talk more about these in level 2, but I want you to get the phrases at least. So if you notice on all of these, there's 2 operations happening. And that's why parentheses are so important for this one, or why the parentheses go with these phrases. Because when you have 2 operations happening, when you think of order of operations, normally multiplication comes first, but let's say there's a time where we don't want it to come first, where really the addition or subtraction should come first. We would need parentheses to show that. We can't just poof have it come first. We need to indicate that somehow, and the parentheses allow us to do that. So for example, if I say twice the sum, I'm not necessarily doubling just one single number. Maybe I'm doubling more than one number, and I'm doing it to the whole sum, which includes 2 numbers, and so I need to group those together. Plus the difference of, again, that might have something in there where maybe I need to do one before the other, times the sum of, times the difference of. That's where you're going to see the parentheses really used, because you are multiplying by the whole sum or the whole difference, not just one single number. And so that might make a difference in the order that you do that in. So those are all the phrases and words that we're going to look at. Of course, there's tons more, but those are the main ones. This is what's going to build your foundation moving forward. So I know that was a lot, and but you got to make sure you have all these written down, and maybe even thought of some that you could add too. Okay, but go ahead and move on to the next thing, which is 1B, I believe. Good luck.